So, Valentina, please introduce yourself and your company and where you're calling from today.
Yeah, I'm Valentina Jordan, co-founder and CEO of Nauta. Nauta is an AI native operating system for shippers. So we're helping shippers connect everything from inventory all the way into warehousing. And today I'm calling from Miami.
Very nice, very nice. So, um, you say it differently than I do. I call it Nauta, Nauta. I don't have that. I don't have that cool Spanish accent that you have. So, so I'll make sure I put a link to your LinkedIn profile, link to your website, any other links you and your go-to-market team give me. I'll put in the show notes. So, what does Nauta do? What problem do you solve, and who do you solve it for?
Great question, Joe. So we work with shippers, and when we're talking about shippers, these are companies that are moving goods both domestically and globally, from retailers, wholesalers, distributors, manufacturers, and traders. So again, companies where their main objective is distributing products. And how we help them is by connecting all of their SKU level data from their different systems into a single source of truth.
Right. So SKU, SKU, that's the SKU level. So that's the individual product level. And correct me if I go astray here. One of the challenges these shippers have is they often have maybe an ocean shipper that they work with, maybe a warehousing company they work with. They work with some carriers over the water, works with some drayage companies. They work with some other carriers, for over the road, and they have their own systems. They have their own ERP, which we reference. They have an order management system. Hopefully that's within the ERP, but they might be in multiple WMSs, TMSs, and assorted other systems. I think we have visibility systems now. So I have all this disparate information, and I only have visibility a bit to access. I don't know, some of it, a third of it, two-thirds of it, but never all of it when I need it. Am I right to say that?
You're precisely right, and I think even if you want, we can dissect the challenge a little bit. How we see it, the framework is supply chain is divided in three main buckets: the movement of goods, the movement of information, and the movement of money. And everyone talks about how do you make the movement of goods more efficient? How do you reduce the number of intermediaries or stakeholders to make the whole value chain more effective? But what most people don't know is that in order to move the goods, you have two prerequisites, which is movement of information and movement of money. You need to be able to communicate, to share documentation, and you also need to be able to pay. And that's why we see that the shippers are the holy grail in the whole supply chain. Because if you think about it, they control the whole three things, right? They buy the goods, they decide who their supplier is, they have to move the information and have access to it because they need to work with their customs broker, with their 3PL, with their supplier. They pay everyone. So they're paying their, as you mentioned, the maritime line, they might be paying, right, the carrier to do their last mile. So that's why we go for the shipper. And that's why we think that the way to solve to what you mentioned, this fragmentation and these silos that we're living in the whole supply chain world is through the shipper. Um, and then the second thing to your reflection, and I think it's something that we need to start like demystifying, is visibility. It's almost a word that is kind of cursed in the whole supply chain, and the reason why, it's because visibility, let's be honest, it's not enough. People need action, right? Like, it's not enough to know that your container is stuck in Rotterdam, or that your bananas, right, are under inspection. You need to know what are your options, what to do with it, how to prioritize what's critical. And that's exactly what Nauta does. We sit on top of your systems. Of course, the visibility is important because it creates a single source of truth, but we make all of this data actionable because the industry is ready for more than visibility.
Yep. By the way, going back, well, it's been over 10 years, maybe is it 15 years? Yes, it's 15 years ago. I ran a logistics company, and we would say to our customers, we have real-time visibility. And what we meant by real-time visibility is there's an EDI within our TMS, and that real-time visibility meant give or take an hour, hours, right? It was never truly real time. And you said visibility is a little cursed. I don't want to just see that I have a, a car crash coming. I want to stop it before it happens. And I think the first step is having visibility. The next step is being able to take action and have enough information to take action. Because I think We often use the term tribal knowledge in our business. And part of the reason it's tribal knowledge is because Valentina has two or three pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, and I have three or four more. And she's guessing, I'm guessing, we need to put all those jigsaw puzzle pieces together where we can see the true picture and then take action, as opposed to I guess I'll make a good guess. I've been doing this a while. I think I know what I'm doing. Last time it happened this way.
It's pattern recognition, right? A lot of things that we do is pattern recognition. And if you've been doing something for 20, 30 years, you know you cannot predict what will happen. The problem is that we have a real generational change happening in the industry and people are retiring. And so this represents a very big risk for companies because if you don't capture all of these behaviors, this pattern recognition, this tribal knowledge that your collaborators have, then you're basically missing out on opportunities that can impact your revenue as a company. So super important there. And I would say you said something that I loved, which is first step is seeing it, second step is knowing what to do with it or acting on it. And I think you need those two to get to the third one, which is have artificial intelligence superpower, right? Your opportunities. And you can't go to the third step unless you cover the first two. And that's where we really specialize. We're helping shippers be AI ready because if you do not have your data properly structured, all of this infrastructure, it's extremely hard to see real ROI with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier, and I love what you said. You said the supply chain is the movement of goods, information, and money. And usually, I say the biggest problem in our business, or the number one question in our business is, "Where's my stuff?" The number two question is, "Where's my money?" and typically, I can't get paid until the stuff and it gets there, and including the information.
Totally. And you mentioned something that I think we tend to forget, and it's shippers are in the business, they're not in the business of moving trailers or containers. They're in the business of guaranteeing that product is available when they need it to be able to meet contracts, to meet offers, right? And so they don't really care if the container is delayed. They need to know how is will this affect their fill rate, right? And that's exactly what we solve. That's our use case. We help shippers control for cash on cash and fill rate. That's how we prove real ROI. And when we talk about fill rate, we're discussing, of course, not having overstock, which to your point, where's your money? Your money's stuck on inventory that is not rotating, or if you don't have the inventory available, well, you're missing on contracts and you're leaving money on the table. So we found that that's really where the bleeding pain is for shippers is fill rate and having product availability. And the way to solve for that is consuming from all of the data, making it autonomous, and giving you end to end control and a brain over everything that is going on in your supply chain.